One of the biggest bullshit myths in life is this before this mentality. Or in other words, I will start this when ti-ti-ta-ta-ta-ta. You can fill the gaps yourself. Ever heard about that one? It is an argument stating that you lack something to start, an argument that it's plainly an excuse. That's basically taking the power and control outside yourself, stating that you are a victim and that you have no control about your decisions and your life. Because the world is a miserable place to live. Okay, sometimes it might be right a little bit. But if you are not doing something to reach your desire, if you haven't started taking those little steps, then it is plainly a huge big bullshit excuse. Now, of course, you might not have some things in order to start. In fact, you will always lack something. However, does that really mean that you cannot start? In truth, you don't need to be a total pro and you don't need to be perfect in order to start taking steps towards your desire. There are three most common types of this and this excuses, or I also call them boos, that are stopping you. First one is lack of skill. It might sound like this. I would do this if I would have leadership, communication, design, or marketing skills. And of course, here you can put any kind of skills that you need. Okay, so you might be lacking that skill, or you might need to improve it even more. But does that really mean that you can't start? What about starting on that skill? What about starting on learning and improving that skill? Isn't that already a start towards your desires? You might still be fighting, saying that it is an expensive skill to learn. But is it really? I have found out that this is basically not the case most of the times, because in today's world we can learn so many things through even online courses. And actually we can do it quite inexpensively. We don't need to take the best expensive courses to be the best professionals. And actually we don't even need to be professionals, and we never ever gonna be then we start something. It's just about starting, getting the knowledge about the topic that we are seeking to learn more, and just doing it while improving it during the process. There's actually a saying, if you're gonna read 3 books from the topic where you want to improve your skill, you're gonna be already more knowledgeable than 80% of people. Doesn't that sound kinda like an expert for you? The second excuse is lack of resources. Or I would do this if I would have a necessary equipment or resources to start. As an example, we can say that you want to be a musician. And you say that you can't make music because you don't have these all expensive equipment. And of course, I understand if you really want to be a good musician, you would need these things. But do you really? Aren't there any other alternatives present to get these things cheaper? Because honestly, there is always at least more than one alternative present. For example, what about renting equipment with a studio? What about renting or borrowing equipment from the person who already makes the music? So stop complaining and spend more time researching on all the other present alternatives. The third excuse is too late this before this attitude. Most often it is associated with age. I am too young or I am too old. This belief basically means that all possibilities are smashed, broken into tiny, whiny pieces. Because if you are too old, of course, basically it means that you can't do anything anymore. You can't travel, you can't open the company, you can't change the careers, and you can't study. Your life is basically a waste of time right now, so what's the point of even trying? On the other hand, if you are too young, what's the point to even start? Obviously, you are too young, so no one is gonna take you seriously. Age becomes one of the biggest excuses. But aren't we actually living in the different ages right now? Where all people go to study, and because of that they are more appreciated and respected by the young adults. And the young adults, then they're more appreciated and respected by the older generation because they are keen to start earlier than they have done it. We are living in a generation where we really don't have lots of boundaries on what and where to start. So use this for your advantage, not the excuse. In a sense, we are really lovely in fooling ourselves. We constantly see only one way, one direction where we can go, ditching and not looking at all the other alternatives. But in truth, there are so many ways that we can take. And of course, it is easier to take that one path. It is easier not to try. But your desires are waiting for you. And if you really want to manifest them into the reality, you're gonna need to work your ass off, darling. And that means doing things. And hey, I believe in you. I believe that you can do this. So after this video, ask yourself one fundamental question. What action you can take today, a small action, to get closer to your desires? Because it's all about desires.